All right, we're jumping right into one of the most powerful tools out there for anyone working with data, the Databricks Notebook. We're going to go from a totally blank slate to running both Python and SQL on the exact same data, all in the same file. Okay, let's get into it. So this is it, the humble Databricks Notebook cell. It might look simple, but in just the next few minutes, we're going to use this one little box to write code in multiple languages, create a dataset totally from scratch, and see our results pop up instantly. This is really the foundation for some serious data analysis and machine learning.
Before we even type a single line of code, it's super important to get the right mindset. This is not like a traditional script that just runs from top to bottom. No, you got to think of this as an interactive lab. Each cell is its own little experiment. You try something, you see what happens, and then you build on it in the next cell. It's a way more natural and, honestly, a much more intuitive way to work with data.
Okay, time for our first experiment. We're going to create a live Spark data frame right here, inside the notebook. You don't have to worry about uploading files or connecting to some database. We're literally going to create our data from thin air right now. Okay, so what are we looking at here? We're starting with a basic Python list. Inside that list, we have a few tuples, which is just a fancy way of saying we've grouped an employee's name, their department, and their salary together. Next, we define the column names. And then, here's the real magic. That line, spark.createDataFrame. We're telling Spark to take our plain old Python data and transform it into this powerful distributed thing called a data frame. Just think of it like a spreadsheet on steroids, one that can handle a massive amount of data. Let's run it. So now we have our data frame. We're about to hit one of the most important concepts in Spark. It's something that trips up beginners all the time. But once you get it, it's incredibly powerful. It's called lazy evaluation.
This slide just nails the concept. See, on the left, when we run a transformation like a filter, Spark doesn't actually do anything yet. It just makes a plan, a super optimized set of instructions. It's being lazy. It only springs into action when we call an action, like .show on the right. That's when all the work happens and we finally see a result. So just remember, Spark plans first, then it executes.
And the really cool part is that we can chain these transformations together. Here, we're first telling Spark to group our data by the department column, so all the engineers are in one bucket, all the sales folks in another. Then for each of those groups, we're asking it to calculate the average salary. And since we've tacked on .show at the very end, Spark executes that whole plan, the grouping and the averaging, and boom, the result appears right under our cell. All right, so we've done some pretty powerful stuff in Python, but what if the next question you have is just way, way easier to answer with SQL? Well, this is where a Databricks notebook becomes a total game changer. Let's see how easy it is to switch gears. So, to make our SQL code see the data frame that we just created in Python, we have to do one really simple thing: create a temporary view. The best way to think about it is we're just giving our Python object, df, a temporary nickname that SQL can recognize. It only exists for our current session, it's not permanent. And this is the line that does all the work. df.create or replace temp view called employees. That's it. We're basically telling Spark, hey, you know that data frame I've been calling df in Python? From now on, let the SQL engine know it as employees. Just like that, we've built the bridge between our two languages. And here it is, the magic moment. Just watch the cell. As soon as I type %SQL at the very top, see that? The whole cell just turned green. That little thing is called a magic command, and it tells the notebook, hey, forget about Python for a second. For this cell, and only this cell, I want you to speak SQL. And here's the payoff. We're writing pure standard SQL. Notice we're selecting from employees. Yep, that's the same data we created in Python just moments ago. We're getting a head count for each department, we're finding the average salary, rounding it, and then sorting the results. We just went from PySpark to SQL in the very next cell with zero friction. It's amazing. And this really gets to the core philosophy here. You know, most tools force you into a box. You're either a Python person or you're a SQL person. Databricks just doesn't care. It says, hey, use the best tool for whatever you're trying to do. If that's Python for cleaning data and SQL for summarizing it, go for it. Do it side by side. Okay, so you get the big ideas. Now let's talk about how to get fast. Working efficiently in a notebook really just comes down to a few key habits and shortcuts that'll make you feel like a pro in no time. Now, don't feel like you have to memorize this whole table. Just focus on the top two.
Shift plus Enter runs your cell and immediately jumps to the next one. This is how you'll move through your analysis. Then there's Control plus Enter. That runs the cell but keeps you right where you are, which is perfect for when you're just tweaking a piece of code over and over. Mastering just these two will seriously speed you up. Keeping your work from becoming a total mess is half the battle. So give your notebook a good name right away. Understand that it lives in your workspace and get into the habit of making folders for your projects early on. Oh, and you can relax about hitting save all the time. It's auto-saved constantly. And if you really mess something up, revision history is your best friend. It lets you go back in time to any previous version.
Sooner or later, it's gonna happen. You're gonna hit run on a cell and nothing. It'll just spin and spin. Look, 9 times out of 10, it's not a problem with your code. It's a simple connection issue. Let's go over how to fix it in like 10 seconds so you feel confident when it happens.
Here's your go-to checklist. First thing, look for that little green circle next to your cluster name at the top. If it's green, you're good. If not, you need to start it up. Second, make sure your notebook is actually attached to that cluster. You can check that in the drop-down menu. And just remember, clusters are set up to turn themselves off after a while to save money, so you might just need to wake it back up. It's almost always one of those first 3 things.
We've covered a ton of ground, from creating data out of nothing, to understanding how Spark thinks with lazy evaluation, to blending Python and SQL like they were meant to be together. But the real big idea here is that the tool should work for you, not the other way around. So I'll just leave you with this question. What really hard problem could you finally solve if the tools just got out of your way? Thanks for watching.